We're a military family, and we were living in Chicago at this point, and I came down on orders to go to El Paso, Texas. But this assignment is only for 10 months, maybe 12 months. 12 months actually, because of, you know, travel and leave, but whatever. The assignment was long enough that we needed something almost permanent to live, and too short to actually buy a house. It put us in a very, very weird situation. So we're thinking about maybe buying a property in El Paso and then renting it out later on, but that's also a lot of headache, a lot of risk. As the time went on, one of my friend was selling his RV. It was a travel trailer. It was, I think it was a hideout, and it's fairly light, about, I think it was 9,000 pounds. And then I told my wife this, and she's like, you know what? Let's just live in a RV for a year. I was like, sure. I mean, for me, I don't really care. It's really up to her. At this point, I had a F-150 2023 model. I just got it. And it was a STX package, V6 engine, base model, but I love that truck. It gave me, on average, about 19 miles per gallon. It's a good value for the truck. And like I said, I really love that truck. Just not to have it as a shock, we decided to take the RV out before buying it. Since he's my friend, he's letting me take it out for a couple of nights and see how we feel about it, how the truck can handle it. From all the specs that I've researched online, my truck should be able to handle it. So we did. First night was great. Second night was great. We learned a lot of stuff. I learned a lot of stuff: how to set it up, how to hook it up, how to detach it, all the headaches that you expect doing things for the first time. We only traveled about 5 miles from where I picked up the RV to the campsite. Mainly, I was more focused on the living situation, which was fine for me and her. It's actually kind of exciting when we did that. There's certain appeal that came with RV living, but you'll never know everything in 2 days. So we decided to buy the RV. I got it for a good deal. He sold it to me for how much he owe. I think we got it for about 15 grand, and time to PCS. So I hooked up the RV, started driving, and we didn't travel right away straight from Chicago to El Paso. We stayed local for, I think, a week before we traveled. We just looked at available parks that we could hook up. But in Chicago, or in Illinois, it was North Chicago, they had not, well, they have full hookups, but not completely full. We didn't have water because it was, I think it was May, no, actually March time frame. So some of the lines were frozen, so they don't really provide water, but they do have electricity and sewer. Granted, every couple of days we had to fill up our tank, but they did provide a very long hose to be able to fill up our tank. But their actual lines were not open yet. And it's fairly cheap for active duty military. It was like, I think it was like $22 a night, which is one of the appeal that got us into this RV living. While driving to the first site, the first time we're actually going to be doing it before we travel, I quickly realized that my truck, although it can pull it, it's having a hard time stopping. So I did a research on YouTube, and I realized that my truck didn't have electronic brake controller. Easy fix. It was about $200. They made it for F-150. It's OEM. You literally just remove the cover on the dash and plug it. It's basically plug and play. And did another research on YouTube and quickly realized on, or quickly learned how to adjust the gain settings of the e-brake, which is fine. And then a few days later, we wanted to transfer to a different spot, and we're still local. We wanted to try a different campsite. Even though it can pull the RV and it can stop safely, the problem I'm having is every time I hit a bump, speed bump, or just a small bump on the road, we feel the truck shake. And mind you, this is my first time pulling this heavy, or this is my first time really pulling a travel trailer. So I was nervous. My wife was nervous. So I'm like, oh man, I don't think we can drive thousands of miles to go to El Paso with this thing. We kept our minds open and see what else we could add to the truck to be able to safely drive it, because I'm not gambling, our safety, with anything actually, like most of us. I added suspension. They sell this suspension for F-150. I forgot what it's called, but it was a suspension that you add to the existing suspension, makes it stiffer, lifts the back of the truck up a little bit. It's really, at this point, it was just a peace of mind that I'm trying to get before driving 1,000 miles from Illinois to El Paso. At this point, we kind of decided, okay, I think we got everything we need. We equipped the truck, everything that we could possibly buy without breaking the bank to be able to pull the RV safely. In the military, since we're moving, we have to weigh everything we have, empty and full. So we get those tickets and we submit it to our finance department so we could get reimbursed for all the expenses we paid for the travel. My plan was to weigh the RV and the truck full first, and we get to El Paso, we weigh it again empty. And also it gives me an idea on the gross vehicle weight capacity or something like that, the maximum weight that the truck can handle with the trailer with everything loaded. And I did a little bit of research on it already. The GVWR gave me all that information, and I forgot what it was. I think it was 13,000 or maybe 15,000 pounds. At this point, it doesn't matter, because when I weighed the truck with everything in it, without my wife and my dogs yet, we were 2,000 pounds overweight. Even though, based on what we've tried so far, that the truck could pull it, it could probably stop it, it could probably handle the distance. However, I know for a fact that we're driving illegally when it comes to the truck's weight capacity, and it really raised a lot of safety concerns in my head. It's not worth it. Basically, when me and my wife talked about it, okay, it's time to just upgrade the truck. So I went to the Ford dealer, and I knew I needed a bigger truck, bigger than the F-150. So I went to the dealer, I found F-250. But I also didn't want to spend so much money, because a lot of these trucks these days with F-250s or 2,500 Super Duties, diesel, there's so many options out there. We're looking at 90 or 80, 90 to 100K. And then there's no way we're going to do that. We made a decision that we're going to do the RV life for a year. We sold our house. We put everything on storage. Everything we own is in that RV. And we didn't want to spend over a certain amount. We didn't have his exact budget, but for sure we're not going to spend 100 grand on a truck. So when I went to the dealer, I found a base model F-250. It was an STX. It has all the technology that we need and then some, without the bells and whistles. And it could easily tow the RV, no problem. So we bought the truck. We paid a hefty price for trading my F-150 early. So we decided, you know what, let's take the loss and we'll just move on, and let's just forget about it and just deal with it. So we did that, even though that was really, really, at that time, it was almost like a necessity. Typically, I would never do that. That was a dumb financial decision. It was a great truck. It is a great truck. It can pull it. So we drove cross country from Illinois all the way to El Paso, Texas. No problem at all. And there's some things that I got nervous of, because, it's a travel trailer. And I felt the wind sometimes in some areas that we traveled to. But when we got to El Paso, I think our first couple of weeks, we quickly realized, based on the travel alone and considering how long we're going to be living in the RV, it's a full-time living for a year. We quickly realized that it was too small. It was me, my wife, and 4 dogs. Now we got 5. But so we looked at Camping World. There's only one Camping World in El Paso. And because they're the only one, they can price gouge you. A lot of them have markups quick, and then without even looking at RV, they gave us garbage as far as how much our RV is cost if we were to trade it in. So we're like, heck no, we're just gonna stick with what we got. And we did a little bit of research. We found some used RV, and then we got this one, which is a fifth wheel. It's a 2020 model, 40-foot fifth wheel, and it has living room, it has a bedroom. It was great. It felt like a mansion when I got into this thing, but we had got a great deal on it because it was used. Nothing wrong with the RV. I think I paid. They had it listed for 39,000. I paid 36,000 out the door. We didn't end up trading in our travel trailer. I posted it on Facebook Marketplace, and it sold right away for exactly how much we paid for. We didn't lose any money there, and we got lucky that it got sold right away, so we weren't stuck with two payments. Now it was tricky because looking for a fifth wheel. I have no problem with the fifth wheel because I could just install a fifth wheel hitch on my truck or the F-250. But I'm lucky that I got this truck because it's a 6.8 Minizilla. The biggest difference that I realized based on my experience on this journey is that the gas truck can handle more payload and they're cheaper. As soon as you put a diesel engine on the same truck, it adds $13,000. So this is a Minizilla. It's the cheapest version, but it has 3,800 pounds payload capacity. And then I looked at this RV when I was researching it. GVWR on it is 13,000 pounds and some change. So 20% of that would be about 2,700 pounds. Truck could pull it. And now this is where we're living right now. I'm telling you this story because there's no right or wrong answer on your RV life. It's all about trial and error. And the crazy thing is, I had friends that did RV life and they all made the same mistake. So I'm making this video and hopefully you can kind of get some insight on it if you're thinking about living the RV life. There's a few things that I want to share that could probably save you a lot of money. Because like I said, there's no right or wrong answer. It's just the costly ones. The decisions you make could cost you money here or there. The first one is, if I were to redo it all over again, knowing what I know now, is that I would find an RV first that would fit our needs, that I could look at long term. So for our case, it would have been a fifth wheel with certain specifics. And then find out the price of the RV in the GVWR, or the gross vehicle weight rating, with everything inside the RV. Once you get that number, then you shop for the truck. When you shop for the truck with those numbers, then you can kind of know if you're going to need a diesel. And if you don't need a diesel, you can get away with gas. Then get the truck later. Because if you get the truck first, then you're stuck with what you can pull in the back. And then at that point, you're limited on what you can buy as far as the RV. We got lucky that we're able to sell our first RV for how much we bought it for. If you're thinking about getting an RV, living full-time in RV, I would consider first looking the RV that you want. And RVs value are not the same as cars. As soon as you buy that thing, half of the value is already gone. So consider it as a long-term investment, because when you finance RVs, it's like 10 years. So find the RV you really need and really want, and then shop for the truck that could pull it. Kind of like that song, buy me a boat and a truck to pull it. It didn't say buy me a truck and the boat to pull.